Hi, my name is Olivia Rice, and this is our Module 16 video. The essential question was, as an advanced educational professional, how would you apply data and data analysis to ensure your continuous improvement plan is focused on closing gaps? So data is one of the most powerful tools to inform, engage, and create opportunities for students along their education journey, and it's much more than test scores. Data helps us make connections that lead to insights and improvements. As an advanced educational professional, I plan to apply data and data analysis by being vigilant in identifying the deficient areas and consistent with effective strategies to overcome problem areas. Closing gaps is a process that always involves having a system in place. My school district currently goes over data within each department. We find the weaknesses, assess needs, create a plan, implement the plan, and then monitor work, adjust, and then provide feedback. As a future administrator, I plan to apply data in much the same fashion, but from a different perspective, obviously. I truly believe in letting teachers know the why behind the efforts. That's the first thing I would do, and then the second thing would be to involve them in the how. So using this motto, I apply it in my own classroom in order to improve student learning, keep my students informed and knowledgeable about their individual data, and encourage them to take ownership in their own learning. They tend to want to improve when they know the details or the purposes of the assessments. So in other words, improving and closing gaps won't happen until teachers and students are included and understand the process. You have to have their input if you want their output.
Good quote at the end.
Thanks.
My question is, like, you talked about how you give your students your why. So coming from a second grade background, I know it's different because you teach high school, but how do you give your students their why?
Yeah, I mean, it is different from elementary to high school because anytime we start a new unit or lesson, I go over like the objective or the standard that we're trying to meet like several different times so they understand the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. And then we just this year, actually, my department started this where we meet individually with the students to kind of talk about their progress throughout the semester. And it's one way, obviously, to go over their individual data, but it's really helped to like build strong relationships with them because it's just you and them, and you learn a little bit more about them, and they tend to open up a little bit more when it's just them. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that one-to-one would really be beneficial because some kids will not talk unless it's
right.
One-on-one. So I can definitely see that be helpful.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads into my question. My question was about perception data and how you can get, kids' opinions and just get their perception on it. But I'm sure that that's a huge piece of it. How you guys can gauge your perception data for your students.
Yeah. So my school sends out a survey. It's a digital survey. They send out to parents, students, community members. And it's like anonymous. We don't know who fills it out and who doesn't. But my department kind of played off of that, and we sent out our own survey to collect our own data about the interests of our department. So I teach family consumer science. So obviously we can't meet all of the content areas of FACS because we're just a two-person department, but we can collect that data on what interests the kids and what's the need in our community.
For sure, I love that. Is that just like on like a Google form?
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
Olivia, my question was, you talked about how you think it's really important for students and teachers to both be informed and be able to like understand the why behind what it is that they're doing. What do you do with, or would you do with like the students and teachers that they just don't want to do it, like the why doesn't matter, like, and how do you help like push those people in the right direction?
Great question. I feel like in the current district I'm in, we've been kind of experiencing that a little bit the last couple of years. And so this year I've really noticed our administration like stepped up their game with our professional development, and they've really brought in some like motivating speakers and some hands-on experience and some community members that come in and and kind of reinstate like, you know, that they are employing these students that are graduating from our building, and so, you know, they want them to have these certain skills and how important it is for the student versus how important it is for the teacher. So they put it more on like student focus. So what's best for the student, you know, it's not about you, it's about them. So I don't know. I just feel like with the past couple professional developments we've had, they've really stepped up their game and brought in some really good ones.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so my question for you guys, I would like help to identify the appropriate number of times to assess and analyze data. So how many times is too many? When is not enough? What is adequate time to see the difference in results? What's your guys' opinion?
I'll go first. I think that it's also different still between high school and elementary. Elementary, we have the same kids every single day, all day long, so we really, really know them, and we just see them constantly. So like there's not wavering variables there. So we evaluate data constantly, like every single day for an amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
We're just checking to see the progress that they're making or where they're kind of stuck, if there's any roadblocks, and whether that's with their like homework assignments or their checkpoints is what we call them, and formative assessments, things like that. We're just always looking at it. So I don't think that you could ever look at it too much, but there's definitely opportunity to not look at it enough because, kids can start to struggle out of nowhere. It seemed like they were just fine, and then now all of a sudden there's a roadblock. So I think that's why it's always important to constantly evaluate the data and make sure that your students are making gains.
Yeah.
I think from a high school perspective, I think it's difficult to answer that question, like how many times should you? Because I agree with Katie in saying like you should be constantly analyzing it, but I think the way what the data is that you're constantly analyzing shouldn't be the same thing every time. Like it shouldn't be like, oh, we're just going to take a quiz every Friday and that's going to be the only data that we're analyzing. Because I can't imagine like as a high school teacher, like if I was having to like sit down for 30 minutes every single day simply analyzing data of my students. But it's different because I have students for just one class, where as an elementary teacher, you are their teacher, where I am a teacher for that day, And so I think with like how many is too many or not enough, I really think it's dependent upon the student just as much as it is as the class. Like some students are gonna master standards immediately, and so they're gonna be able to show you that right away, and that you can give them different types of assessment, and whether it's an actual like for a grade or not, like different types of assessment, and they've mastered this standard. But as other students, it's going to take them a little bit longer, and so like I agree that it's constant, but I think that the how and what should always be changing.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think it kind of depends on what you're assessing. So once again, like elementary is so different, but like we do progress monitoring for reading for every month based on the reading score, but then we only do RDA and phonics stuff quarterly. So I think it depends on what you're teaching them and what you're wanting the assessment on. So like for facts, I don't know a whole lot of like the curriculum that you teach, but I'm assuming it's more of you get through this part and then you move on to the next. So if it was me, I would want to start progress monitoring some data in the middle instead of at the end, and then saying, oh, darn, they really struggled with that, but now it's at the end, so we're moving on, and then you're just going to have to do better next time type thing. So I think it really just depends on what you're teaching. Then you need to think of, well, how often do I need to look at this data, depending on how much time they have to master the skill, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really helpful. Right now in my current building, that's like a big topic right now that we're discussing. Some teachers are like, oh, we want common planning periods to go over this, and others are, they don't mind, they don't care, whatever. So that's a great point. I'll bring that to the table, that it depends on what content area or curriculum that you're teaching, because we're all assessing different things. So,
Right.
yeah, that's all. Okay. Thank you guys very much for your help.
No problem.